Sveiki sugrįžę po pietų. Svarbiausia, primenu, kad nuo dabar pranešimus
Now we're all back from the lunch break. I welcome you back, and we have Hall A and Hall B, so you can listen to the sessions in both halls. There we have, in Hall B, we have session New EU Regulation on Supply Chain Emissions, a game changer for sustainable transportation. Session is powered by the Admiral Project. Our session in Hall A is on 3Cs initiative, strengthening the transport innovation ecosystem. And I am inviting the moderator, Gediminas Varvolis, ambassador at large for connectivity and the peace initiatives, MFA of Lithuania. And the participants of the session, Agne Vaitkevičiūtė, Vice Minister at the Ministry of Transport and Communications, Git Dukevich, Parliamentary Secretary of the Ministry of Transport of Latvia, Christian Roy, Investment Director at the Empire Infrastructure Group Limited, UK, and Edvinas Gaza, Managing Partner at the Accelerator Scale Pool. Please, warm welcome.
So, shall we start, ladies and gentlemen, after the very nice lunch break, which is a kind of traditional feature of transport innovation forums here in Lithuania. So we are happy to serve you a dessert of the 3Cs initiative now, which is the topic of our discussion today. I was actually very happy this morning that both His Excellency President Nausėda and the Minister Skuodis, they actually extensively explained the 3Cs initiative, and now it will be up to us to try to fill it with the content and to see to what extent the transport innovation and innovation in general can be used in this particular framework. So maybe just a couple of words from my side as the 3Cs initiative ambassador at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on what the 3Cs initiative is actually about and what it was conceived for. So the format sounds very maritime, but in a way it's quite inland oriented actually. I'm very happy that we have this map on the screen, which really will help us to understand the geographical and geopolitical actually rationale of this framework. So we have 13 countries located in between the 3Cs, the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, and Adriatic Sea. Well, now we have the 4th sea with the accession of Greece in the last summit in Bucharest, Aegean Sea, but I guess the Mediterranean Sea would do for the 3rd sea as such. Those countries that you see on this map, they actually almost 8 years ago, they got together and they started working on improving connectivity in this particular region in 3 areas: transport, energy, and innovation. And the reason why actually they got together upon initiative at that time of Poland and Croatia was that the leaders of those countries, they realized that there was still quite a prominent infrastructure gap between the western part of Europe and the central and eastern part of Europe. And at that time, there were some famous examples that were given, like, for example, how long it would take for you to get down from Tallinn to Varna or Constanța, and similarly, how long it would take for you to get down from, let's say, Stockholm to Barcelona. And the difference was striking. Whatever transport mean you would take, the difference was still very, very, very prominent. So the main philosophy of the 3Cs initiative is really to fill this still existing infrastructure gap, which is getting smaller, but it's still there. So we still have to work on those on filling this gap. So the interesting thing about the 3Cs initiative that it has a kind of moving geography. We had the summit in Sofia, then we had a summit in Latvia, then the last summit was in Bucharest, and now the center of gravity of the 3SI, this is the abbreviation, the 3SI, now the center of gravity will move back north to Lithuania. And this is a kind of beauty of this initiative, this moving geography. Another beauty, I would say, of the 3SI, it's that it's a politically inspired, but very much economically or even commercially driven platform. We'll hear more about the commercial aspect of the 3SI when we start our discussions in the panel, but it's very important. And it's also, the 3SI is also project-based. When you think about 3SI, you have to think about such flagship projects as Via Carpathia, Rail Baltica, Via Baltica, Rail to Sea, data centers, 5G corridors. So this is what the 3SI is about. And among all those projects, actually the transport projects, they take the lion's share. I think if you look at the list of the strategic projects that the countries decided to compile, the transport projects, they cover about 50% of that list. Maybe another, my last introductory reflection on the 3SI, that it's an indigenous Central European initiative. And it's a kind of alternative for what we used to have, like, for example, China bringing 17+1 to the region, now reduced to 14+1 or even less. Well, this is different. This is indigenous. This was made in our region. And this is another nice thing about the 3Cs initiative. And it also has some very strong partnerships. There is a very strong American presence in the 3Cs initiative. Actually, we have 3 strategic partners. We have United States, we have Germany, and we have European Commission. So there are all those elements that they are very strong in the 3Cs initiative. And in Bucharest, so just a couple of months ago, we had the last summit. And if you look at the declaration, it clearly says that the 3SI has reached its maturity. So it has become really an initiative that already took its roots in the region. But the declaration of Bucharest also says that the 3SI acquired a new relevance. And this is also for obvious reasons. The minister's quote this morning was very clearly emphasizing that basically, the east-west connections in our region, and I'll put it bluntly, they are gone. They are gone for obvious reasons. And the new normal in our region has become the north-south connectivity. And the 3SI is about that. It's about north-south connectivity. So I think when this project, this platform was conceived 8 years ago, it was a kind of visionary initiative. They couldn't anticipate that the things would change so dramatically in Europe. But they were already at that time thinking about the importance of this north-south connectivity. Yeah, but I think I'll stop here with my introduction. Otherwise, I can, I can monopolize the floor on this panel. And let's now move into the discussion. And let's talk also about the role that the 3SI could play in strengthening transport innovation in our region. And I'm very happy that for this discussion, we have this panel and this very healthy mix of public sector presence and the business presence on the panel. So we have today with us here Dr. Agne Vaiciukevičiūtė, the Vice Minister at the Ministry of Transport and Communication of the Republic of Lithuania. We have also here on the panel Mr. Girts Dubkevič, the Parliamentary Secretary of the Ministry of Transport of Latvia. Then we have Christian Roy, the Investment Director at the Amber Infrastructure Group, which is the investment manager for the 3SI Investment Fund. And last but not least, we have Edvina Skerza, the managing partner at the Scale Wolf Fund and Accelerator.
Correct.
Yeah, so welcome all of you on the panel. And now let's start our discussion with my first question actually going to one of the previous hosts of the 3Cs initiative. Mr. Dubkevič, so Latvia hosted the 3Cs initiative summit in 2022 and was quite heavily involved in the coordination of this platform. Are there any lessons or learned or takeaways that you could share with us on your 3SI experience? And in general, what are Latvia's expectations towards this initiative? And also maybe just to compile questions, what is the current state of play from your perspective on those flagship projects that are so important for this north-south connectivity, Via Baltica and Rail Baltica? Because I guess the strategic importance of those projects cannot be underestimated. They'll be the real game changers for the north-south connectivity, facilitating bigger trade, contributing to military mobility, reducing dependency on road networks. So their impact would be, ground-changing. So what is your take on that and your experience from the 3SI and the vision of the 3SI?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that we very value the 3SI initiative, and basically it's a very valuable platform for further cooperation and further cooperation also in terms of safe, reliable and efficient connections. So that's very important for us, especially nowadays when there's war going on in Ukraine. So safety is a priority for us and priority also for the whole region. So also the shift has changed, the paradigm has changed. Let's take that into consideration. But regarding, first of all, our experience when we were organizing the summit, then actually in 2002, we were thinking we wanted to organize the summit and tell to the world that basically it's not only the summit. People are not only gathering and listening for some kind of speeches, it's more than that. We need to go to the actions. And so we move step forward, and the three basic actions which I would like to mention, of course there are more than that, but nevertheless, first one was better involvement and more close cooperation with the US. So in result of the cooperation, we received 300 million for 3Cs investment fund. So that's quite a lot of money also for the investments and possibilities for the whole region. Second one is definitely the Ukraine as a partner state for us. And I would also not maybe put it like first, second, and third, but just to be very clear that these are like all very important steps. And the third one is actually that we are basically starting to look more broader. So we are looking also and have fostered very good relationships with United Kingdom and Japan. So we can see that on the map, those countries are a bit further, but nevertheless, they really support us, and we need to be keen also on addressing those issues and those relationships with the countries on the years forward. So I also know that next year you're also going to have summit here in Lithuania. So I really hope everything goes well, and definitely everything goes well. So maybe again, fostering relationships and having some kind of tangible benefits is the thing I really wish for the next year's summit to conclude on. Regarding the projects, just maybe a small remark, and we can go further on in discussion. Of course, here everyone, our most common priority at the moment is Rail Baltica project, and this is not a priority for the Baltics only. It's priority for the whole 3C initiative region. Again, for the purposes of military mobility, for the purposes of people connecting each other for the purposes of the Green Deal. If we look also for the environmental aspects, the train, as it's already was mentioned, is a very vital mode of transport in the future. So maybe just also to briefly sum it up, I think we have a lot of opportunities going forward, but definitely from our perspective to connect North and South via Rail Baltic project is a top priority at the moment, where we need to contribute our strengths, come together, and also try to search for different funding regarding the project, because also we have intermodal logistics center in Salaspils, which is in the project of Rail Baltica, and in order to develop it, we also receive not only TIF financing regarding military mobility, but we also have addressed the envelope of Free Seas initiative. So it's very vital also for the prospect of financing. So it has very much practical views as well.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you specifically for singling out Ukraine, which already featured very high in Riga. Because my next question that I would like to ask to Vice Minister would exactly would be about Ukraine, basically, because I think Ukraine is a kind of DNA of the Three Seas initiative. If you look at the map that we just had on the screen a minute ago, there are at least 4 member states that have direct border with Ukraine. We have the majority of the 3 member states that have a historic, cultural affinity with Ukraine. So Ukraine is really basically part of this framework. And by the way, both Ukraine and Moldova, for that matter, they have received the status of associated participating states in the initiative in Riga initially, and later reinforced in Bucharest summit. So, Vice Minister, how the 3SI can be instrumental in serving as a platform for supporting Ukraine, in maybe advocating for quicker inclusion of Ukraine in the TIF2023 networks, and also maybe you can say a word on another platform which actually will go in parallel with the Three Seas initiative, the Transport Innovation Forum, which will be again presided by Lithuania. So we'll have actually 2 transport, in a way, presidencies next year, the Three Seas initiative and the International Transport Forum. So any synergies between those 2, how the ITF can serve the same purpose of helping and assisting Ukraine. Vice Minister.
Thank you very much. I think the questions are very timely for Lithuania. Lithuania was always a huge supporter for Ukraine on any global formats we could involve ourselves in. So International Transport Forum is another global organization where Lithuania is taking over the presidency from UK. This is a global and only one organization that talks about different transport modes, so all transport modes are included. This organization is part of OECD and is very valuable on the ministerial level to talk and find the ways to help Ukraine. So we mentioned last year in Leipzig, where usually the main event is taking place, that Lithuania during their presidency in this organization will talk a lot about Ukraine and will try to gather all the like-minded countries to help us do that. So what we're doing so far, we are creating a platform among like-minded countries within International Transport Forum, and I think this will end up with a platform. We will end up till the end of this year. This will be created a very technical platform to understand better the needs from Ukrainian side and to work specifically on the managing it among like-minded countries within the organization. And I think that Free Seas initiative complements it very, very well. because there is also a political will on that side, and this is, so both those formats and Lithuanian leadership there should be not only recognized for ourselves as a very important part on the infrastructure and transport on the map, but also as a huge part to show some leadership within connecting those platforms. So I think that political president's leadership on Free Seas Initiative together with the ministerial board on International Transport Forum will be something very special that we will work on. And next year, the president today, Your Excellency, mentioned that Lithuania will have a back-to-back event while of the Free Seas presidency, and it will be dedicated on Ukraine, restoration of infrastructure and capacities together to do it. And it will be under the International Transport Forum portfolio. But obviously, I think that investments are a huge part of it, and I think my colleagues will help us, to create this discussion more into the results-driven approach. Political will is there, transport ministers and Lithuanian leadership is there, but obviously investments and coordinated actions are mostly needed. So I will just end up with what our minister at his speech mentioned. 5 years ago, life was totally different. Now we have totally different situation, and the efforts and understanding from the member states in both global organizations are different, and we want to help Ukraine as well as to support our main infrastructural projects, as my colleague from Latvia mentioned. I don't want to repeat myself. I think that Rail Baltica, Via Baltica, and our efforts are visible now. And we know that next year, Via Baltica till Poland border will be finished. So there is a lot of things going on right now. And I think that the possibility to show leadership and to connect these two platforms will create more results.
Thank you, Vice Minister, and thank you for mentioning the key word of the buzz or keyword of investments, because my next question will go to a representative of the only existing Three Seas Initiative institution, which is the Three Seas Initiative Investment Fund. So the fund has an investment manager, an independent entity, the Amber Infrastructure Group, and Christian Roy represents that entity. So Christian, for our audience here in Lithuania, could you walk us through the mechanics, the investment mechanics of this structure? How does it work? How those investments are made? How they are managed? What kind of projects are selected? And maybe also a word on to what extent the current investments cover the transport sector in particular, because we are at the Transport Innovation Forum. And maybe also to connect with what has been said previously, those political accents on Ukraine and Moldova. So are there any possibilities that the fund eventually, maybe not at this stage, but eventually could also cover some cross-border projects with those countries? Because again, this is part of the identity of this region to help those and assist those partners. So does it feature in your internal discussions one way or another? So go ahead.
Thanks. A lot to cover. So the fund, maybe it's worth taking a few steps back just to explain how the fund was created. So as you rightly pointed out, like the countries in the region, this is an indigenous initiative. The countries in the region, created the Three Seas Initiative and started discussing, cooperation on large infrastructure projects. They created a list, a strategy priority list of projects, and discussed how these projects could be implemented. As you all know, in the rest of Western Europe and in North America, private capital plays quite an important role in investing in infrastructure. This is less the case here in this region for a number of reasons. Some are historical, some are around perception of risk. So the countries in the region started thinking about how they could try to bridge this gap, this infrastructure investment gap, and try to see if there would be a way to attract private capital in the region. And one of the ways they thought about doing this was by creating an infrastructure investment fund that would make successful investment in the region that would be aligned with, the objectives of the initiative, and which would demonstrate the attractiveness of the region for private capital. So the development finance institution in the region decided to pull together some funding and create the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. So to date, we have 9 countries which have invested via their either export credit agency or development bank into the fund, pulling together 928 million euros, which we've been deploying since 2020, when the first close was reached. Amber Infrastructure is the investment advisor, not manager, investment advisor. We are advising the fund on how to deploy the capital, trying to find projects investment opportunities that are aligned with the objectives of the fund. So what are these objectives? I think, Gidzinas, you mentioned a few of those. These objectives are around connectivity. That's probably, for the transport sector, that's probably the key one. As a lot of you know, historically, the north-south connectivity has been neglected. I think there was probably a historical reason for that, to try to prevent easy movement across the region. Then when the region joined the European Union, there was a strong push to connect east-west movement. And again, north-south connectivity was neglected. And you're absolutely right when you mentioned the statistics around moving across the region. We looked at the numbers, and it's shocking how the differences between Western and Eastern, Central and Eastern Europe. So that's one of the objectives of the fund. We also have, of course, sustainability objective, helping the region attain the sustainability goals. Also, one thing that is important to mention is that this is, and I think you've used this expression that we quite like, this is a politically inspired fund, but commercially driven, which means that we are investing in projects and companies on a commercial basis. So we look at the risk-return profile, and we invest. We're trying to make commercial returns on our investment. So we're not, subsidizing the infrastructure sector. We're really investing on a commercial basis. So we can invest in 3 sectors. Those are energy, digital, and of course transport. So I'll just zoom in on transport. For the transport sector, we can invest in roads, railway, airports, ports, logistic. So we can invest in all these subsectors. To date, we've made 5 investments. 2 of those are in the transport sector. So we've invested in Poland in a locomotive leasing business called Cargo Unit. Our investment is helping them modernize their fleet, buy new locomotive to align, with what's being done in Western Europe. We've made a second investment in the port sector this time. This was in Bulgaria. We invested in a private port operator called BMF Port Burgas, which is the largest private port operator in Bulgaria. We invested in this because it acts as a gateway connecting the southeast part of the 3Cs region with the rest of the region. And the last thing I'm going to say about our investment is that earlier this year we've announced a strategic partnership with Neoti Green Mobility Fund to support the transition to zero-emission mobility. So our first way of doing that is by providing financing and leasing solution to bus operators and public transport authorities to transition their fleet from diesel vehicle to zero-emission vehicles. So we're quite excited about this initiative. To finish about your last point around Ukraine and Moldova, at the moment, the way the fund is structured, it can only invest in EU countries, but there's been a lot of discussions around how we could try to find a way, and I'm quite confident that in the future it will be possible to invest in those countries' infrastructure.
Thank you, Christian. Now, let's finally go into the innovation topic, because this is the name of our panel, the role of the 3SI in innovation in general. So the Declaration of Bucharest, if we look at it, if we read it, it has a very interesting paragraph dedicated to the 3SI Innovation Fund. The declaration says that actually there is an intention of the 3SI countries to establish or launch a 3SI innovation fund that could address the rising needs of investments in cross-border innovative projects, deploy more investments in technological advancements, and strengthen the innovation ecosystem of the whole 3SI in line with the European priorities for sustainable and technologically advanced economic transition. End of quotation from the 3SI declaration in Bucharest. Edvinas, you as the managing partner and the head of a new entity, this Scale Wolf Venture Capital Fund, what is your take on the innovation, specifically on the innovation funding situation in our region? Do you agree with some assessments that actually early stage venture capital is a kind of missing link in the region, that we don't have enough we don't have enough of this type of venture capital to support the innovation ecosystem in our region? Because again, if we look at the 3Cs initiative, there is no structure as such, to map the whole, even to map the whole pipeline of innovation projects in the region. I think it's basically a national kind of national thing for member states to have their own, to know their own ecosystem, but there are no ways how to link it together for the whole region. So again, what is your view on specifically on the funding of innovation in the 3Cs initiative region?
Okay, thank you. Let me be very honest. We agreed on strategic objects, on strategic investments, but we never agreed them to be innovative or secure, right? So we build roads, we build rails, we create digital space by connecting our countries, but we never talk about innovative decisions, right? The road is quite old-fashioned. It doesn't charge the vehicle while you drive. While we are building Rail Baltica, it's well nice, it's 30 years old technology, although the train does not detect people or animals that could be monitored during the way the train goes, or it does not monitor the infrastructure by itself and detects if something goes wrong with the rails. Although in cyberspace it is also, bridges that we don't see, but we don't protect that. We don't care about security, innovative security, and that's why DDoS is coming through those pipes every day to our critical infrastructure, governments and the military, right? So in my opinion, it is very important to agree on a very simple yet important, structure of the approach, how we do it. I would suggest, to have a three-step approach, because on one hand, we already have some tools in place, but not countries use them. For example, let's use cyberspace as an example. We have Kaunas Cyber Regional Security Center for already probably 4 or 5 years, but not all countries have joined that to defend our networks. Although we do have cyber rapid response teams that are equipped with very modern cyber tools, but unfortunately not all our neighbors, including 3C countries, have joined that. On the other hand, we invest billions of euros although spending none to the investment. So second approach would be, why not to agree to spend, let's say, 2% of our investments to innovation? And if you have a project which is kind of 1 billion, let's use 10 million for venture capital, for accelerators, where the third step comes in when you look for people, for companies who would like to solve the problem that I'm talking about, who would like to find new innovative solutions to charge the vehicle while it drives from Vilnius to Warsaw, for example. Why do I need to stop in a station and wait for half an hour to charge my car? Sorry guys, it's not serious. I will never do that. I would like to enjoy my trip and charge my car while driving through Via Baltica and not stopping aside, right? So after we do the third step, let's search for those companies, train them, give them problem set, and then invest and use these technologies in our critical infrastructures.
Okay, thank you. And now, staying on innovation, and I see the time flies really, so we have to speed up. So, Vice Minister Vaiciukevičiūtė, we hear a lot, and we heard a lot today about emission-free transport, autonomous vehicles, smart mobility, AI-based transport management systems. All those innovations, they are on the market. They are on the global market. We are users of those technologies here in the region. Sometimes we are very effective users of those technologies. But can we say that the region can also become a producer of some indigenous innovation technologies? Can we become a trendsetter in transport innovation, the whole TriSI region? What would be your take on that? We heard your minister this morning saying that, I was really very intrigued by this information, that there is this system of calls for applications for 25 million for companies, and apparently it works pretty well. So can you explain this, and has this produced already some tangible results, some concrete indigenous innovations here in the region? So
that what just Ambassador mentioned, I wanted to say that we already are at some parts producers, and especially on cybersecurity side, one of the leading in some areas in the world. So obviously the idea of collaborating between the region is to make better results, to invest into more innovative solutions, trans-country solutions. And I think this is really important. Just to correspond to what my colleague just mentioned, I think Lithuania itself is doing quite a lot. For example, on Via Baltica, we created, together with telecom operators and our main companies, memorandum, and we are applying to get financing to create towers close to the Via Baltica road. And this is not an idea or something, this is a real project which will take place. We will be ready the early next year to participate for this funding, and what we will see actually a collaboration between Baltic countries and Poland to create one path which will be ready for the autonomous solutions. So we are doing this on one or another scale. There is a lot of discussion on the digital transformation as well as the green transformation. And I think that on the digital one, we also have something to say. As the minister mentioned, just a couple of years ago, we deployed 5G in Lithuania. 90% of population is covered. But we noticed that innovations, even if there is a fast speed, is not coming as fast as we would expect. And we think that the intervention of the government is right on the spot. And I remember last year I was talking that we are planning a sandbox regime for innovations of 5G that would be used to solve transport or connectivity problems. And I'm very happy to say that this year we can talk about the results. Just 2 days ago, I saw the list of projects which will have an opportunity to build on those innovations in Lithuania. And what is really interesting and special about this program is that we are not investing into the beginning of creating innovations. We investing on the stage, on the very high TRL, for people who knows what does that mean, that the technologies would be scaled up and deployed into the real market. And I think the role here of the government is not only to inspire to invest into those innovations, but also to be there with their laws, regulations, to create the environment where it could be tested and then applied. And the final thing, which is really important, that it's not only an approach from the government, but all those projects who will take this financing, they will attract half of the investment themselves. So I think it's win-win, because the attitude towards of the creation something that would be used on the market level is there. So I think that obviously in Lithuania, innovation policy is organized through Innovation Agency, through Economy and Innovation Ministry, but we as a transport sector, by seeing how much innovations are going on in this area, are not staying behind and trying to be a huge part of it and show an example.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister. State Minister, same question to you. Any room for building a regional innovation community within the Baltic states, for example, that could set the trend for the rest of the 3SI?
Yeah, again, I think there are a lot of things already are happening, and we also have 5G, and we are now talking about 6G, and I think everything is going to move forward, and in the digital sphere, there's going to be a lot of innovations. I think it's very important for the Free Seas initiative to foster the development of new incentives, and also to put all the projects in basket and find the ways how to better also finance them. And I think that's one of the keys also in order how we can move forward. But again, those initiatives are already happening, and I think it's like actually not the future. It's today. We are living in it today, and everything is evolving each day. So really looking forward what's going to happen next. And of course, when we have great ideas, when we have a lot of countries, when we have a power of cooperation, we have results. So,
thank you very much. I just feel that we have one omission in our discussion. We haven't mentioned the word resilience, which is, I think, key. And here I would like to go back to Edvina Skerza, who has a strong experience and strong record in leading Lithuanian cyber policies, and then working at some major Lithuanian energy and transport companies. So what is your take on resilience and how this can contribute to this better connectivity? And maybe a word on digital transformation, how it will affect the transport sector and what are the developments in this area?
Well, in here, I'm more than glad to say that in my country, this problem is already being understood, and Scale Wolf is the reflection to the resilience, because all fund, or actually two funds, are meant to be for the security, dual use purpose. So we clearly understand that those pipes, those infrastructures, and not only military, are now target for our enemies, for those unfriendly countries. So new modern technologies, new innovations should be applied in order to protect them, whether it's under the sea, whether it's in space or on the ground, you know. And this connects with digital space directly, because this is one path to our, security, as everything, literally everything gets digital nowadays.
Thank you. And Christian, on innovation, so could you provide us some examples on innovation products that are part of your portfolio at the Amber Infrastructure Group?
Yes, happy to. So as I mentioned, we've made some investment in the transport sector. I can mention cargo unit. As a result of our investment, we're accelerating the electrification and modernization of the fleet. In BMF Port Burgas, we are accompanying them on their journey towards sustainability. For example, now we're taking like climate change impact as part of our decision making to future-proof the port for like future impact of global warming. We are also having this initiative that I mentioned before, and I think maybe I will just spend a bit more time explaining what it is. So we are going to be offering these long-term leasing solutions to bus operators where we will help them with the transition, because what is quite complex with the transition towards zero-emission mobility is that these bus operators and public transport authorities, they're very much used to diesel vehicles. And now they have to take into account the fact that there's battery, which needs to be, incorporated in the vehicle. You need the charging infrastructure, and you need the chassis. So these are three components that need to work together. So what we are doing is offering them this integrated solution where we are helping them, look after their vehicles, look after the batteries, and offering them like a fixed payment solution, so they're not taking the risk about like degradation of the battery, for example. This is quite new in the region. This is something that is being done in countries like the UK or North America. We are bringing these like, innovative ways of financing the transition into this region. So we're quite excited about this.
Well, thank you very much. So glad to hear that innovations are very much part of the 3SI investment agenda already. So I have those zeros blinking here on the stage. I guess the time is up, but I would dare to ask the audience if somebody had a question to our panelists. Feel free. Well, if not, then maybe it will be time for me to wrap up and to thank you all for contributing to this discussion. I think the main takeaways that I would bring with me home and work on it later would be that, the geopolitical importance, assistance to Ukraine, the importance of those transformative connectivity projects such as Rail Baltica, but also the use of existing tools. Maybe we should not invent the wheel and just take what we have, as Edwin said, what we have already on the market and use it for the benefit of the whole region. The sandbox, maybe that would be a place where those innovations will appear and grow up and will be scaled up. The funding still remains an issue. We need to work out, and maybe the lessons learned from the current 3SI investment fund will be very important, because I think what we also have on the agenda is the new financial vehicles. I think it's still too early to say what kind of shape they will take, but I think they are very much on the agenda. So watch for developments. Maybe there will be some new funding opportunities. And just remember the North-South, I think, when you think about the 3Cs initiative. And also, please see a bigger picture. The North-South connectivity, it's important in our region, but not just because, we are connected among ourselves that it is important. It is important because actually this North-South transport connectivity axis is linking us to global supply chains. Some companies that we were discussing this morning, they were asking, we have this east-west connection gone, so how do we connect? Okay, we are connected north-south, but how do we connect to the exterior world? So this is where I think the global corridors come into play, like the middle corridor across the Black Sea, the Caucasus. It links directly to the 3Cs countries, through Romania and Bulgaria, and it goes north. So I think it just makes perfect geopolitical sense, this 3SI format, and let's try to strengthen it. Let's prepare ourselves for Vilnius Summit, which will take place in April next year, as our president and minister, both of them, they invited you to the business forum of the 3Cs Initiative Summit. So use this invitation, use this opportunity, come mingle with the representatives of 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund, other global companies that will be there, and let's just make this new transport geography a success. So thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. And well, let's move on to other topics.
Thank you.